And from the Gospel of Luke this morning. Luke chapter 1, starting at verse 46. And Mary said, "My soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God my Savior. For he has regarded the lowly estate of his handmaiden. And behold, henceforth all generations will call me blessed. For he who is mighty has done great things for me, and holy is his name, and his mercy is on those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in their imaginations and thoughts. He has put down the mighty for their thrones and exalted those of low degree. He has filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he has sent away empty. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, as he spoke to our fathers, to Abraham, in the prosperity forever." And Mary remained with her about 3 months and returned home. Friends, this is the word of the Lord. Have you ever been scared? I mean, really, really scared. I was at church camp. It was in the early 70s, and we were down at the Youghiogheny River. If somebody have you canoed the Yacht or have floated down it, you know that it is a very, very fast river and is very cold. In the middle of the summer, in August, in 105 temperature, you fall in the water, you turn blue. Across from the camp, down at the end of the ball field was the river. And it was a long, level stretch. And across the river was a railroad track with bridge. And if you take the train from Pittsburgh down to Washington, D.C., you could actually see it if you know where to look. And I saw it last time I was on the train a few years back. And so everybody was jumping in the river, swimming across the tracks, and then they would jump off the railroad bridge, right? You know, it wasn't that tall, probably as tall as the wood up there. And I wanted to do it. Well, to make a long story very short, I nearly drowned. I'll tell you what, I have never known panic, and I have never known fear like in that moment. And if you've ever almost drowned, you know what I'm talking about. It's where you're so terrified, you're so afraid, you know? You know, sometimes we get afraid of things, afraid of the future, what we're going to do. And sometimes we get thrilled and happy in just the same measure, that sort of thing. And that very thing happened to the young girl, Mary. The angel, of course, comes to her and tells her, "You're going to have a son. He is going to be the Son of the Most High. You're to call his name Jesus." She goes down to visit Elizabeth, who is already pregnant with who would become John the Baptist. And there she sings her wonderful song. We call it the Magnificat. And it's extraordinary. And she sings to the power of the Lord, no matter what's going to happen. And you see, for Mary, it's a little different than it is for Elizabeth. In Elizabeth's case, everything is going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. She's born to parents who are married. He's a priest. She's the wife of a priest. They're older, but it's going to be joyful. It's going to be wonderful. Everything's going to be great. But in Mary's case, everything goes wrong. She's unmarried. She's poor. You know, they might stone her to death in the street. But she sings this wonderful song. My soul magnifies the Lord. And it's a tough road that she's called to, you know. And she doesn't know what's going to happen. I was listening this last week to, I was watching YouTube. I really like watching YouTube. I watch it a lot. I learned how to fix my dog fence. You know, stuff like that. And other things. But Ashley McBride's been on YouTube lately. And she's a country singer. And she wrote a song. And I think it goes... Girl ain't going nowhere, ain't going anywhere Anyway, if you get a chance to Google it this afternoon, you ought to. It's a great song. So she's a young girl, and her dad's a Southern Baptist minister. And, kids who grow up in a minister's home, can be pretty nuts. You just ask my daughters, they'll tell you. Or ask Nancy. Nancy will tell you. Where's Nancy? There she is. And so things can get pretty nuts sometimes. But she wanted to write songs and sing. And her teacher at school, you always have this day when teachers say, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? That sort of thing. And she says, girl, that ain't going to take you anywhere. And so she did turn it into a song, and this girl ain't going nowhere. And she just got inducted to the Opry Hall of Fame, and she's been on all these shows lately, and her records are making the charts. You probably heard them on the radio, maybe even other people who've sung them, that sort of thing. Girl, you ain't going nowhere. Ain't going anywhere. Yeah, she's at the top of her game. She has a lot of tattoos, by the way. So, just so you know. But she composes songs. Have you ever written a song? Have you ever made up a song? People do it without even realizing it. Maybe you're in the shower, or you're walking down the forest road or the country lane, that sort of thing. Or you're just starting to hum a tune, that sort of thing. Sometimes it's something terrible that happened in your life, or sometimes it's something really, really good, and a song springs forth. It happened to Mr. Stafford, and it's in your hymnal. His family, his wife and several of their children were going to Europe on a steamship, and this is how you traveled to Europe a long time ago. Rather than taking the airplane, they had not even thought about it this time. They got about halfway across the Atlantic, and the ship had problems, and the ship sank. Most of the passengers perished. They drowned. But there was a ship nearby. They picked up the survivors, and when Mrs. Spafford got to England, she telegraphed her husband, and it was just 2 words. Now, you got to remember, back when this happened a long time ago, telegraphing someone from England to the United States, that was a very expensive deal. And it just read these 2 words: saved alone. And the story goes that he framed it, he put it behind his desk. He was a businessman, and he booked passage on a ship, and he started to England to comfort his wife. One night he's out on the rail of the ship just looking out at the ocean, and the captain comes by and he says, sir, this is the place we believe that the Villa de Havre, the ship that your wife was on, went down. We're right over top. And then he went in and he wrote a great song that we still sing today, It Is Well With My Soul. Beautiful song. I encourage you to sing it sometimes, but it came out of this great grief, and he had a few other children. They were home with him, and he raised them, and that great song remains to this day. The movie star Bruce Willis. A lot of you say, Die Hard, yes, it is a Christmas movie. You guys didn't get that. You need to go home and watch Die Hard. Bruce Willis started out this way, and I remember seeing this commercial. He was in this commercial, and they were selling jeans, I believe it was, and I couldn't remember if it was Wrangler or what it was, but he's in New York City, you think, and he's kind of going down the street and humming a little tune, and he's got the jeans on, and they show the little label on the back of the jeans. He's kind of dancing down a dark alley. He pulls out a harmonica, and he starts to play, and it's just so joyful. It started his whole career. A song. A young boy with a harmonica. Boy. Singing is something that the people of God have been doing since the very first pages of the Bible. Let me tell you a few of the important songs in the Bible. And now, they don't look like songs that we have today. and they don't sound like it. They don't rhyme the same way. They did things a lot differently in their languages than we do. And unfortunately, the tunes have been lost over the years. And they're not like tunes like we have today. And our organist Paul will tell you that the way we notate music is less than 700 years old. And there was a man in Italy, he used the hand method. 5 lines and 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's how we have that today. He thought it was pretty cool, and everybody like, hey, that works. So it's only been around for a little bit of time. So the songs in the Bible would sound different. Like, let's see. In the story of Exodus, we have the Song of Miriam. This is Moses' sister. And she sings after crossing the water through the sea and how God has destroyed the army of Pharaoh. And the Israelites all sang this song, probably for a very long time in worship and things like that. I sing to the Lord, for he's highly exalted. The horse and the rider are hurled into the sea. That's just part of the song. Exodus 15. Of course, it also teaches the faith and the story to new generations that come along. And probably the most famous of all the Old Testament songs is the song of Hannah. It's called Hannah's Prayer, but it's a song. Hannah was a woman who had no children. She was a righteous person. Better than good, that sort of thing. And God hears her prayers and answers, and she has a son who becomes one of the greatest prophets of the Bible, Samuel. And Hannah's prayer is much like Mary's song. Countless thousands have sung it over the years, and she says, my heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my horn is lifted high, my mouth boasts over my enemies, for I delight in your deliverance. There is no one holy like the Lord. There is no one beside you. There is no rock like our God. 1 Samuel 2. The next song that I like so much is written by the young man David as he becomes king of Israel. The story is in 1 Samuel, in the beginning of 2 Samuel. David's friend Jonathan, the son of King Saul, they're killed in a battle with the Philistines. And so David is brokenhearted. And he wrote a song called The Lament. It's called The Lament of the Bow. And he teaches it to all of his young soldiers in the army. And probably every chaplain who's been a chaplain for the military in our country has also said these words to their young people. Your glory, O Israel, that lies slain on the heights, how the mighty have fallen. It goes on for a little ways. It's a sad song, but it talks about courage and friendship and enduring love and faithfulness. Every culture and every people sing songs to remind them of great events that have happened in their lives and the lives of their country. And I've often thought that music and singing can relate things that we can't really vocalize with words. Sometimes the spoken word can only go so far, and it can't take us all the way that we want to go. When we hurt, when we have great joy, when we experience deliverance, we sing. I know it was that way for Billy Graham. There was Billy Graham was just starting his ministry, and he knew that he wanted to do these crusades, these rallies, and he'd been doing them for Youth for Christ, and they've been working with the kids, but he wanted to go big, to reach more people. And there was this guy on the radio that was singing, and he said, "Man, if I could get that guy to come and sing for us, that'd be great." And this guy just put out a new song, and so Billy calls the radio station and finds out how to talk to him, and he leaves a message that, "Hey, I want you to come and sing for me." And this guy, he says, "Who is this Billy Graham guy, This guy was at the top of his game. And, why would I want to go sing for him? Well, the guy's name was George Beverly Shea, and he'd just come out with the song, I'd Rather Have Jesus. Now, I don't know if you young people ever heard I'd Rather Have Jesus, but they sang it. Billy finally got him to come, and he sang one time, stayed with Billy Graham the rest of his life. I'd rather have Jesus than silver or gold. I'd rather have Jesus than riches untold. And it goes on. It's a beautiful song. And they also sang Just As I Am, of course. And I grew up American Baptist. I sang Just As I Am every Sunday, okay? So there are songs that change things, that make us, closer to the Lord, make us new people, that change our lives, just like it changed Mary's life a long time ago. The most famous Christian song right now in the world is Amazing Grace, and I know I've talked about this before here. It was by John Newton Clerk, and he spent his whole life, he was a ship captain, and he was a slave trader and all this, and he became a minister, and he worked at this little church, and nobody knew who he was. He wrote this song, Amazing Grace, but it wasn't called that then. Now, it wouldn't be famous for a while. So he entitled it Faith, Review, and Expectation. Let me tell you something. Even I know that title ain't going nowhere. Faith, Review, and Expectation. 1831, 64 years after this song was set to the medley that it's sang to today in Virginia, they retitled it and called it Amazing Grace, and has been the most famous Christian song of all time. But this song grew out of John Newton Clerk's terrible experience and how God used him to do wonderful things. The slave trade ended in England in 1807, and it would not end here until 1863 with the Emancipation Proclamation. Of course, the slave trade goes on, make no doubt about it. It's still happening, parts of the world. Mary sings one of the great songs of our faith, and in her song she declares God's consummation of the promised blessing to Abraham, that the Messiah comes into the world. Mary sings about the fulfillment of God's great plan of redemption, that the Messiah comes into the world as a child, the fulfillment of all the scriptures and all the great promises. It takes time for Mary to sing her song. In the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, she goes down and stays with them. She's visited by the angel Gabriel. He tells her everything the Lord's going to do for her. She wonders how this is going to be, and the angel says, don't be afraid. I always like how angels show up. First thing they say is, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You found favor with God. You will be a child, and you give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus. He will be great, be called the Son of the Most High. And the Lord will give him the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob forever. And of his kingdom there shall be no end. Friends, let us sing a new song unto the Lord and give thanks forever and ever for him. Let us have a word of prayer. Well, Father, we give you thanks for this day and this time. May we too, like Mary, sing a new song as you commanded us. And may we sing songs of greatness and simplicity, of love and of hope, and of great faith always. Your children.